beginning of a new name for this concert. We are now calling it the David Brock Youth Storytelling Concert. David was 9 when he started telling stories with Trafine Hickman and Tony Simmons at the Zulabee Library in Cedar Hill. He was twice named a national youth storyteller and went to tell in Timpanogos at the Timpanogos Storytelling Festival in Utah. David was active in the Tejas Storytelling Association in his teenage years and in his young adult years. He was both a teller and he was also a technology guru when we were doing everything online during the pandemic. He also served on the TSA Board of Directors. Tragically, David passed away in 2025. And in his honor, we have named this morning concert the David Brock Youth Storytelling Concert. Now, I like to rhyme, and I like rhythm too, and most kids do, and I'm really not anything except a big, old kid myself. So, my favorite traditional rhyme goes like this. This is a jump rope rhyme. Call for the doctor, call for the nurse, call for the lady with the alligator purse. And I even brought my own alligator purse today. This belonged to my Aunt Mary Lou. And rhyming is something that's fun to do. And I'm going to try y'all out with a call and response traditional rhyme real quick. See how you do with it. You ready? It's real easy. You just echo me. I know a girl who's long and tall. Sleeps in the kitchen with her feet in the hall. Y'all pretty good. We'll do one more. Ida red and Ida blue. I got a girl named Ida too. Y'all are good. We're gonna do this. Okay. Now, today I'm going to be making up rhymes of my own about the people coming up on stage. But since we've got a new name for the concert, I'm going to start out with a little rhyme about David Brock. We remember our friend David Brock. He didn't wear his shoes or socks. My earliest memories of David are a little barefoot, free-range boy just kind of galloping around this room, and he was soaking up every bit of this festival while his storytelling coach, Tony Simmons, was trying to talk him into putting his shoes on when he came up on stage to tell his stories. Now, anybody who's been at this festival very long knows that Elizabeth Ellis takes her shoes off when she tells a story. So in David's defense, I think the grown-ups were giving him mixed signals. So I've decided in David's honor today, I'm emceeing this concert barefooted. I think he'd like that. We're starting this morning with one of our featured tellers, Joel Ben Izzy. Joel's been here at the festival, comes to us from California. He's been delighting us, and he charmed us last night when he stepped foot on this stage, and he's just going to he's not letting up now. He's a little older than most of these youth tellers down here. I'd say, though, given a chance, he could probably act up as good as any card-carrying third-grade boy around. Now, I've asked all of the tellers to tell me 3 things they like and 1 thing that they don't like. Joel likes The Princess Bride. Yeah. It's got to be in my top 5, and I come from a movie theater family. Pasta with pesto, any kind, just put it in front of him. And he likes kids who tell stories. So y'all are in good company. He does not like having to make a list that limits him to just 3 things he likes. 3rd grade boy, what'd I tell you? All right. I know a man named Joel Ben Izzy. He tells stories that'll make you dizzy. Let's welcome to the stage Joel Ben Izzy.
Thank you kindly. Thank you kindly. I never been introduced in rhyme. This must be the very first time. Honored to be a story for David Brock. I'm going to tell a story with a rock. Keep it not too long, 'cause there's the clock. Attention span limited by TikTok. I think I better get to work. Hey, so thrilled to be here. I've had the best time at this festival, and these kids are great, and it is so... Let's just right now have a round of applause for all the kids. I was meeting them, and I love to encourage youth storytellers, and I'll give you the advice my dad gave to me when I was in college, kids. I was at Stanford University, and I came home, and I said, Dad, I think I want to study computers. And they said, what are those? I said, they're these new things. They're like typewriters, but they do a bunch of stuff, and you press buttons, and there's a screen. And my dad gave me some good advice. He said, you know, this technology stuff, it's a fad. It comes, it goes. People talk about computers now that we talk about something. No, do something practical. Tell stories. People always need stories. People have been telling stories since the beginning of time. And wherever you go, you'll be welcome telling stories. I said, really? He said, yep, got to make a practical choice here. So that was it. I hunkered down. I studied storytelling. And I gave up on that computer thing. And, you know, sure enough, it's been a good life traveling around the world, telling stories. You get to be a storyteller. You see friendly, smiling faces all the time. And it goes on and on. Now, I'm not saying I don't sometimes dream I was stuck in a little cubicle, typing on a keyboard, hunched over like this. But, so storytelling, I'm saying, is a good job. I'm also saying, tell you, it's good as a storyteller to have a lot of things in your bag of tricks. And I got a lot of things in my bag of tricks. I will show you, before I was a storyteller, I was a magician. And magic and story goes together. So if you have a chance to learn some magic, that's kind of fun. For example, stories, I'm the youngest of 3 brothers, right? Who's going to win in the story in those youngest of 3 brothers? It's always the youngest brother, right? Things are even. Because I was the youngest and the shortest, like so. Then was my middle brother. Then my big brother. And I didn't think that was fair. And yet, that's the way it was. Anybody here the youngest sibling? Yep. There you go. I see. So in a story, things can work out in a way that makes it all fair because those pieces come up together. 1, right? 2, right? 3. And there's a way that when you tell the story, things kind of even out. Like so. But to make that happen, you're going to have to stretch your imagination. So those 3 different sized pieces of rope become 3 pieces of rope, same size. That's 1, 2, 3. Then when you go back at the end, you say, well, wait a minute. You're going to have to tell that story again, so you're going to want to have that short one, medium one, long one. Because you get that story, you can tell it again and again. Now, that's one thing in my bag of tricks. It's always good to have a bag of tricks, but I was reminded of something when I went to Thailand. I went to Thailand in January. Don't speak Thai except for like 3 words, and that does not make for a story. But some magic to have in your trick. I'm going to show it to you. You'll be awestruck and amazed. You kids later, I'll actually teach you how to do this. This, among the cheap thrills, is the cheapest of the cheap thrills. It's called Zippy. My hypnotized thing. Ready? We need silence, and whatever you do, do not laugh, because Zippy will not work if there's laughter. Ready? Zippy, come to me. Come to me, Zippy. Come to me, Zippy. Come. Stay. I'll show the kids. Whispering. Zippy's hypnotized. Now, Zippy. Go, Zippy, go. Zippy's shy. And now, Zippy, come back. Come to me, Zippy. Come. Stay. This is magic. And to see this on the face of kids in Thailand, as I say, this you'll never learn how to do. I'm sorry, but kids, afterwards, I will show you how to do this, and I'm going to give Zippy to one of you kids. That is a great thing to have. I'm going to tell a little story just to warm up. Always keep things in your bag of tricks, and mime too. This was a great thing, because there used to be a mime in Paris long before, and this was a really fun thing to have in tricks. But for a little story, stories you want to get people thinking, get people wondering. Story, this has a riddle in it. It's an Irish story, just a warm-up riddle. Call out the answer if you know. What's at the beginning of everything at the end of time and space? Exactly, E. Who said that? There you go, that's right. The letter E, right? At the beginning of everything, at the end of time and space is the letter E. Try this. What word starts with E and usually has only one letter in it? A word that starts with E and usually has one letter in it. Of course, Liz knows. Shall I call on Liz or? Liz, tell us. Envelope. That's right. An envelope starts with E. Also envelope. Either answer works. And it usually has one letter in it. Try this one. Try this one. What's better than the best? Worse than the worst? Dead people eat it all the time, but live people who eat this die slowly. Exactly, nothing. Good answer. So what's better than the best? What's worse than the worst? What do dead people eat? And what is it that if you are alive and you eat this, you'll die slowly? All right, now you're ready for a story? A story long ago in Ireland. And I love this story. It's funny. I met Liz, who'll be bringing the concert for the home stretch. I met her at Cape Clear in 1994, a little island, southernmost island in Ireland. I told stories there. A friend of mine had started the festival. Years later, I went back to Cape Clear with my wife to tell, and she said, "You know what you're going to tell?" And I said, "I don't know. I'll just tell my best stuff. It's a festival, right?" She said, No. You can't tell the same stories you told 22 years ago." I said, "Tally, it's 22 years. They're not going to remember which stories I told." She said, "You watch." And sure enough, I got off the boat. They said, "Oh, you're going to tell the Helm stories again? You're going to tell that one King Solomon story?" They remembered everything. And so I switched it up. But afterwards, Daphne, who organized the festival, said, "I love what you did this time, but I was sorry you didn't tell the story about the king's riddles." So for you, here's the story of the king's riddles. 'Twas long ago in Ireland, there was a king. He was not a kind king. He was a mean king, and he was a bored king. And so, one day, not much was happening. He decided to call in his advisor. He said, advisor, come in. Yes, Your Highness. The advisor had a job. It was to say, yes, Your Highness. Can you repeat, everybody? That's all he ever said. That was his job. He said, advisor, it's your job to say, yes, Your Highness, isn't it? Whenever I do something, I ask if I should do it. You say, yes, Your Highness. Isn't that true? Sometimes I'm about to do something really foolish. I ask you, you say, yes, Your Highness. I get in trouble, and it's your fault, isn't it? So the advisor could already tell this was not a good day with the king. So, advisor, I want you to do something different now. I'm going to see if you know anything at all. Do you? All right. I shall ask of you 3 questions and give you a chance to answer them. And if you answer them correctly, you'll get 3 bags of gold. But if you answer 2 correctly and 1 incorrectly, you'll get 2 bags of gold, and I will chop off your head. Ooh. If you answer 1 correctly, 2 incorrectly, you'll get 1 bag of gold. I'll chop off your head twice. And if you answer all 3 incorrectly, chop off your head 3 times. To which the advisor said, "Wah!" And the advisor said, Your Highness, these questions, I trust they're not difficult, are they? The king said, no, the questions are not difficult. It's the answers. Are you ready? Yes, Your Highness. Listen carefully, all the questions. Number 1 simply is this. How many stars are in the sky exactly? Yes, Your Highness. Number 2, how deep is the sea? Exactly. Yes, Your Highness. Then number 3, if you survive those first 2 questions, why then you can simply tell me this. What am I thinking? Yes, Your Highness. Could I have some time to think about this? Perhaps 100 years. No. Come back with the answers this time tomorrow. Have a nice day. It'll be your last. Off goes the advisor. Not happy about this at all. He's thinking about those questions. What's the first question? How many stars in the sky? What's the second question? And the third question? If you remember those 3 questions, you can rebuild the story in your mind. Well, he doesn't know what the king's thinking, but the advisor's thinking, maybe advising was not a good choice for me. Maybe I could have been a computer programmer, because a computer programmer can sit in a cubicle all day long going, no. He's thinking, I don't know. And as he's wondering what to do and how he'll survive this, who does he bump into but the king's storyteller, who says, oh, how are you? He said, I'm not so good. I'm playing a game with the king, and I think I'm going to lose. Really? What's the game? He tells him about the questions. And the storytellers are known for thinking outside the box. The storyteller says, oh, it's a pity he wouldn't ask me those questions, because if he would, I could answer them. The advisor hears this and says, that's fantastic. Tell me the answers and I'll give you a bag of gold. Oh, no, I couldn't do that. Or tell me the answers, I'll give you 2 bags of gold. The advisor's still trying to make money off this. Tell me the answers, I'll give you 3 bags of gold. The storyteller said, no, I didn't say I could tell you the answers. I said if he was to ask them of me, I could answer them. But he didn't. He asked me, but don't you see, said the storyteller, we could trade places. I could dress up as you, you could dress up as me. The palace is not well lit, old torches in the corner. Let's trade places. Okay. Then you get the answers right. You get to keep the bags of gold, and you get them wrong. Well, it's your head, not mine. So they made an agreement. That's right. The storyteller dressed up as the advisor. The advisor dressed up as the storyteller, took the day off, went to a festival in Denton, Texas, had the best time with the nicest people, but that's another story. The storyteller dressed up as the advisor went to the king, and of course, his face covered up with a hat, and it was kind of dark there. And the king said, advisor, there you are. You ready to answer the questions? Yes, Your Highness. Good. Just a moment. Guard, could you come here and bring that axe with you, the sharp one? Oh, no, wait, bring the dull one. He was a very mean king. Do you wish to try answering those 3 questions? Or shall I chop off your head now? Yes, Your Highness. Very well. First question. How many stars are there in the sky? Now, Your Highness, last night I counted the stars in the sky. And as it turns out, there are 927,283,549,287 stars. And if you don't believe me, count them yourself. Well, the king actually had no idea how many stars were in the sky, so he had to give him a bag of gold. If you tell the story, kids, you can actually make up that number. Just use a very specific number. Don't try to think, all right, 927. Just use that specific number. He said, very well, here's a bag of gold. The king didn't mind it because he knew he'd get it back after the next question. You lose that question, but tell me this now. How deep is the sea exactly? He said, Your Highness, the precise, exact depth of the sea is but a stone's throw. A stone's throw? That's not exact. Oh, yes, it is, Your Highness. And if you wish to check, travel out to sea in a boat anywhere you wish. Bring with you a stone. When you get there, wherever you wish, drop the stone in the water. Throw it down. The distance it travels to the sea bottom is the exact, precise depth of the sea, one stone's throw. Second bag of gold. He said, You're a clever advisor, and I'm going to miss you. Because while you gave clever answers to those first two questions, you cannot possibly answer the third question. Do you wish to try, or shall we chop off your head now? Your Highness, I'll try. Go ahead, then. Read my thoughts. Tell me, what am I thinking? Your Highness, reading your thoughts, not only can I see what you're thinking, but I see that you're wrong. What am I thinking then? You're thinking that I'm your advisor, but I'm not. I'm your storyteller. What? I thought you were my advisor. Told you. And that storyteller got his third bag of gold. One more riddle. How do you think that storyteller lived? Happily ever after, but he always dreamed maybe he could be a computer programmer. So that's the story from Ireland. Hey, thank you for having me, and let's give another round of applause for these kids. I can't wait to hear their stories.
I told you, third grade boy. Lily Mae comes to us from San Antonio. She's 11 years old and in the 5th grade at St. Mary's Hall. She likes reading, playing the piano, and playing with her little sister. She does not like Brussels sprouts. Lily is a Girl Scout and she enjoys volunteering. Last year, coached by Sue Kuntz, she was named a National Youth Storyteller and told her story at the Timpanogos Storytelling Festival. All right, yeah. Lily's stories make you laugh and shout. Just don't make her eat any Brussels sprouts. She is telling a Polish tale for us this morning entitled Rachel the Clever. Let's hear it for Lily.
Once, long ago, there was a king who was proud of his clever wits. Now the king vowed to only marry a woman who was as clever as he. One day, the king was staying at an inn, and he walked into the inn, and there was this enormous crowd around the fire. He pushed through the crowd to see what was the matter, and in the middle was the innkeeper, boasting about how clever his daughter Rachel was. The king scoffed at this. No one could be more clever than him. So he walked up to the innkeeper, and he said that he didn't like liars. So if his daughter could solve 3 riddles, then he wouldn't shut down the innkeeper's inn. "First," said the king, "what's the fastest thing? Second, what is the richest thing? And third, what is the dearest thing?" The innkeeper rushed home to his daughter Rachel, very, very worried. He was nervous. He knew Rachel couldn't solve these riddles, but nevertheless, Rachel went to work. What could be the fastest thing? Thought is the fastest thing. The richest thing. Life-giving earth is the richest thing. And love is the richest thing. And love is the dearest thing. She told her father the answers, and then her father raced to the palace. But then when he told the king the answers, the king was amazed. A mere innkeeper's daughters had solved the riddles. "I shall like to meet Rachel," said the king, "but she must come riding nor walking, dressed nor undressed, and bringing a gift that is not a gift." The innkeeper raced home to his daughter Rachel again, but he knew that these riddles were far too hard. But nevertheless, Rachel went to the market, and she got a goat, 2 doves in a cage, and fishing net. She wrapped herself in the fishing net, grabbed the 2 doves in the cage, boarded the goat with 1 leg dragging, and she set off to the king's palace. And when she arrived, she said, "Hi, I'm Rachel, the innkeeper's daughter." The king was quite confused, but then he remembered that this was the innkeeper's daughter. He was surprised to see her. "I have come to you, riding nor walking," said Rachel, "because when I have my leg dragging, it counts. And fishing net is not closed, so I'm dressed nor undressed. And here's your gift that is not a gift." Rachel grabbed the 2 doves in the cage, ripped the cage open, and both of the doves flew right out the window. The king was astonished. Rachel was as clever as the innkeeper had said she was. But then there was a moment of silence. They looked at each other once, and they liked what they saw. They looked at each other twice, and they forgot that he was a king, and she was just a mere innkeeper's daughter. They looked at each other 3 times, and they both fell in love. "Rachel, will you marry me?" said the king. "Of course," said Rachel. And so they both got married, and they lived happily ever after, or so you thought. One day, the king had made a ruling at court, but Rachel noticed that the peasant was very sad, and so she walked up to the peasant and asked him what was the matter. "I own a mare that gave birth under my neighbor's wagon," said the peasant. "The king has ruled that the foal belongs to my neighbor." "Why, that's not right," said Rachel. Go to the king with a fishing pole and say that you are fishing. And when the king asks, "How can you catch fish on a marble floor?" say, "If a wagon can give birth to a foal, I can catch fish on a marble floor." The peasant did just as Rachel had told him. But when the king heard the answer, he was filled with rage. He knew this was Rachel's doing. No one else could say such a clever thing. And so he banished Rachel out of the kingdom. But then he felt his heart break. "But," he said, "you may have one last dinner with me and bring your dearest possession with you." But Rachel didn't weep or wail. Instead, she went to the potion parlor in the palace, and she grabbed a purple vial on a shelf labeled sleeping potion, and right before dinner, she popped it open and poured it into the king's goblet. And let me tell you something, the king fell right asleep. So Rachel grabbed a blanket, covered him on it, and then she grabbed it and she hoisted the king upon her back. And Rachel walked right out of the kingdom. Now you might ask, why didn't any of the king's guards stop her? Well, they knew the king's ruling, and so they just thought that she was carrying a ginormous treasure. And so Rachel walked right out of the kingdom. And she laid down the king in a valley, and they both fell asleep. Wait, what am I doing here? Rachel! Oh, hi, you're finally up, Rachel said. Oh, don't be mad. I was just following your ruling. You see, I could take my dearest possession with me. And that, my dear, is you. Then the king was reminded of his love for Rachel, and he forgot about his pride forever. He realized that his ruling was unfair. Rachel, will you forgive me? Of course, said Rachel. But will you at least listen to my input before you make any rulings? Of course, said the king. Now come on, my dearest possession. Let's go home. And so Rachel and the king lived happily ever after. For real this time.
Clever Rachel. Wise and smart, right? All right, excellent job. We're off to a good start. Our next storyteller is Adaline Cason. She's from Waco. Adaline is 8 years old. She's homeschooled and in the 2nd grade. She likes Minecraft, Legos, and pizza. She does not like waking up early. I'm with you. Adaline has participated in various storytelling concerts hosted by the Heart of Texas Storytelling Guild, and her storytelling coach, Ms. Vivian Rutherford, says that Adaline can create stories at the drop of a hat. All right, I'm going to give Adaline's rhyme. Oh, I saw the hat drop. Did you see that, Adaline? He dropped his hat. I hope you got a story in your head. All right. Adaline's always got a story in her head. She dreams them up early while she's laying in the bed. She dreams them up early while she's laying in the bed. Let's welcome Adaline Cason.
Hello, my name is Adaline, as you already know, and I will be telling the story of the unhappy stonecutter. Once there was a stonecutter that every day he'd climb up the mountain and chip away at the rocks. Every time he'd go down at the mountain and polish his statues and shape them, he'd hear the villagers talking about the spirit on top of the mountain that grants wish. Of course, he didn't care because he had all he needed. Until one day, he was taking one of his statues to one of his customers, and it was a rich man. So he didn't know, but he didn't care. So he brought the statue, and he saw that the rich man had all these nice things and a big house. He wished that he could have nice things and a big house. Right as he got home, he had an even bigger house with even more nice things. One day, it was too hot to go outside. He loved going outside, but not as much he liked climbing up the mountain. He thought that the sun was being better than him, all being outside. He wished to be the sun. Right as the next day, it was still too hot, but he was the sun. He made all the crops wither and die until a cloud crossed by, and it made him furious. He thought the cloud getting in front of him, all blocking out his sunlight. He wished to be the cloud. He made the city flood. Everyone had to either leave or get on their boats. Everyone was so unhappy that he flooded the city. He was the only one there now because he flooded it all up. All the building was destroyed. They were either drowned or destroyed. But the only thing he couldn't flood was the mountain, and we all know what he's gonna wish to be. He wished to be the mountain. He liked being the mountain. He could relax all day, and he loved it. Until one day, a stonecutter climbed up and chipped away at the mountain. He wished to be his normal stonecutter self, and the next day, he was his normal self again, and he said to himself, "I will never wish again." The end.
Be careful what you wish for. I love that one. Okay. Our next storyteller is Alyviah McGrew. Alyviah is 14 years old. She's in the 8th grade at Bessie Coleman Middle School in Cedar Hill. Oh, we got some Bessie Coleman Middle School fans. She's a member of the Traffing Hickman Library Youth Tellers. Yeah. She likes money, Hershey's chocolate bars. You go, girl, I'm with you. And futuristic things. She does not like making bees. Yeah. Alyviah is a student leader. She is both in student council and the National Junior Honor Society. She has told stories with Tony Simmons since the age of 8. All right, so let's get her rhyme going. Are y'all ready to echo me? All right. Alyviah tells stories that bring her praise. She wants no B's, only money and A's. Let's put, one more thing about Alyviah. Alyviah told stories on the stage at NABS, the National Association of Black Storytellers, in 2024. And she is here to share that story with us today. Let's hear it for Alyviah McGrew.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alyviah McGrew, and I'll be telling the story called Why the Sky is So Far Away. Now, once a long time ago, I think I forgot to emphasize of how long ago this was. I got it? Okay, cool. Just trying to make sure. Even before my parents were born, no shade, it's just that you guys are a little bit on the seasoned side, but it's okay. We're all going to get there one day. Don't worry about it. It's okay. The sky and the earth were very close to each other, so close that you could reach up and touch the sky itself. The sky's name was Mama Naya, the great sky mother, and she loved to provide food for her children, the people of the earth. The people all lived in a village called Denton, and every morning they would wake up and greet Mama Naya as their neighbor, and they would only take what they needed from her. But soon the villagers became greedy, and they began to take more than what they needed from Mama Naya, and this made her very upset. So she decided she was going to give them a warning. Listen up, my children. I'm only going to tell you this once. Only take what you need from me, or there will be consequences. Not there could be, there will be. Emphasis on the will be. And let's just say this warning worked, because the villagers only took what they needed from then on. But one day, they decided that they were going to throw the biggest and greatest festival of all time. Now, at a good festival, you have to have good music, good food, and of course, some good storytelling. Kind of like the amazing storytelling we have with us today, am I right? Yes. Now, what are some foods you guys think they had? Yeah, they had all that. Now, all that food that you guys just named was left over when the festival was over. There were so many leftovers it could feed the whole village over again. But instead of saving them, the village wasted it all and threw it all away. Now, this part, it's where it gets really hard for me to talk about because they just made the biggest mistake of their whole lives. I mean, how convenient is it to just reach up and get whatever you want from the sky? It's just sad to talk about, but, you know. And of course, this made Mama Naya extremely disappointed in her children. So the next morning, she began to rise higher and higher. And when the villagers noticed, they began to plead with her. Mama Naya, please, we're sorry. Please come back down. We're so sorry. But she just continued to rise until she was the great blue sky that we know today. The moral of this story is to never take what you have for granted and to always respect what is given to you. Thank you.
That's a good lesson. Boy, do I feel old. Seasoned. Our next storyteller is Claire Cason. She's also from Waco, and she is she's 10 years old and homeschooled and in the 4th grade. She likes video games, soccer, and pho. Y'all know what pho is? It is a Vietnamese, right? Soup. It's really good. All right, she does not like broccoli. I'm assuming broccoli is not in pho. Just checking. When she's not reading or preparing for storytelling events, she's probably admiring her collection of squishies. Her coach, Vivian Rutherford, says that Claire has a smooth cool when she tells. Is that right, Vivian? All right. Okay. Get my spoons up here. Y'all ready for this one? When Claire tells stories, you'll laugh till you cry. Just don't you feed her any broccoli. Let's put our hands together for Claire Cason.
Hello, my name is Claire Cason, and I'll be telling you the story of the very smart pea and the princess to be. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, I grew among carrots, vegetables, and all sorts of different foods. I grew up in my velvety pod with my friends and family. I felt a tingle. I knew I would be very important. When it came time, we were shelled and put into a bowl in the palace kitchen. But strangely, I was taken out of the bowl and put into a little box with soft tissue to keep me from bruising, and taken away by the queen. So at this point in the story, I need to give you some background. Let's start with the queen. Just last year, she'd been nagging your son. You're nearly 24. You need to get a bride. The village expects it of you. And if you don't, by next year, I will quit your entire allowance. And the prince had a very large allowance, so he did not want it to be taken away. So as soon as he could, he went out venturing. He looked far and wide and met every princess. But none of them were right for him. They were too loud, too quiet, too snuffy, too tidy, too pink, weird pets. The list goes on. Next year, he came home. He was disappointed. He couldn't find a bride, and he lost his entire allowance. His mother said, "Listen, here's something only a queen knows. The real princess that you will marry will be able to fill a tiny little pea under 25 mattresses and feather beds." So, for the next few months, princesses would stay at their house and sleep under 25 mattresses and feather beds and me. They were all very caught up and polite, and he would say, "Oh, I slept like a log, thank you, ma'am," or "Oh, I slept like a baby, thanks for having me." But none of them could feel the pea. The queen was starting to lose hope. Would the prince never find a princess? But one stormy night, the walls were shaking with thunder. Crash! As lightning thundered. There was a little knock at the door. Knock, 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 knock. They opened it up. It was a girl. Before she could say anything, she was put to bed under 25 mattresses and feather beds and me. I heard her soft snoring. I thought, I recognize that snoring from somewhere, and I said, "It's my gardener." I was getting pretty tired of this by this time, so I was getting ready to stop this. So I wiggled and jiggled, but the snoring continued. She couldn't hear me or feel me. So I nudged my way out from under those mattresses. I climbed, and I threw myself up there, and I rolled over to her ear, and I whispered, "There's a very large, uncomfortable thing under your bed." I talked about large, uncomfortable things for 3 hours. 3 hours, people. By the time she woke up, the queen asked, "How did you sleep, dear?" And she said, "Ugh, I slept horribly. There was a very large, uncomfortable thing under my bed." The queen was rejoiced. She had finally found someone who could feel the pea. Their wedding was lovely, and the queen couldn't wait to meet her parents. If you ever want to find me, look at the right museum, the right place, the right time, you might find me. The end.
I think that just might be my favorite version of The Princess and the Pea. Wonderful job. Okay. Y'all having a good time? Yeah. Kaitley Cowan comes to us from Cleburne, Texas. She is 16 and in the 11th grade. She likes reading, playing the piano, and spending time with her friends. She does not like to get up early. Card-carrying teenager, right? Kaitley works part-time at her local library. Yes! And she is active in her church. Kaitley tells stories with Vivian Rutherford and has told at many Heart of Texas storytelling events, including the annual Oakwood Cemetery's Walking Tales. I'm going to go to that sometime. They walk through the cemetery and they tell the stories of the people who are buried there. And who's the name of the woman? The library? Mary Maxwell Armstrong is the story that Kaitley tells. And she is the founder of the Armstrong Browning Library on the campus of Baylor. So it's I'm coming next year. Going to come and hear that. All right, let's do Kaitley's rhyme for her. Y'all ready? Yeah. Kaitley sparkles telling stories so fine. Kaitley sparkles telling stories so fine. But in the morning don't make her rise and shine. Let's put our hands together for Kaitley Cowan.
Hi, my name is Kaitley, and I will be telling the story, One Eye, Two Eyes, Three Eyes. Once upon a time, in a cottage in the woods, there lived three sisters. Now, the oldest sister was completely normal. She had one eye right in the middle of her forehead. And the second sister was also no different from anybody else. She had three eyes, one in the middle of her forehead, and one on each side of her face. But that youngest sister, she was different. She had two eyes, imagine that. And Two Eyes was made fun of by her sisters because she had two eyes, and she had to wear their dirty hand-me-downs, and she had to eat the grossest food you can imagine. And one morning, Two Eyes got up, and she had her breakfast of 4-day-old soggy cornflakes, and she went out into the field with the goat like she did every morning, and she would take it out there and let it graze. And she went out to the field and she cried her two eyes out. And she sat there and she cried, and this old woman appeared and said, "Why are you crying?" And Two Eyes said, "Oh, I just have the most awful life. I have to wear hand-me-downs, and I have to eat gross leftovers, and I am so hungry all the time." And the old woman says, "Well, you have a goat." And Two Eyes says, "That does not help me." And she said, "Well, there's a rhyme you can say to the goat, and it will bring you food. And the rhyme is this: bleat, goat, bleat, and bring me lots to eat. And the goat will bring you food. And then once you've eaten all you want, just say to the goat, bleat, goat, bleat, I've had so much to eat." And the old woman disappeared. So Two Eyes goes to the goat, and she looks at the goat, and she says, "Bleat, goat, bleat." and bring me lots to eat. And all of a sudden, this table appeared before her with so much food on it. It had the gooeyest, creamiest mac and cheese, and the fluffiest mashed potatoes, and steak, and green beans, and spaghetti, and it just went on. And then there was every kind of cookie for dessert, and chocolate cake, and ice cream, and Two Eyes ate until she was stuffed. And she leaned back in her chair and she said, "Bleat, goat, bleat, I've had so much to eat." And all the food disappeared. And Two Eyes said, "That is better than cleaning up." And so she went home and she bypassed her bowl of broccoli and she went to bed. And her sisters noticed Two Eyes did not eat her leftovers, and where is she getting food from? And so they decided the next day that One Eye would go out with Two Eyes and keep an eye on her and make sure she wasn't doing anything bad out there. And so the next morning, One Eye goes out with Two Eyes and she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna watch you out there in the meadow, make sure you're not doing things you shouldn't be doing." And so Two Eyes realizes she can't say her rhyme to the goat because her sister will find out. And so she suffers through this long day with her horrible older sister. And she goes home and she has to eat her bowl of liverwurst. And then she goes to bed. And the next day, One Eye goes out with her again. And well, before she went out, Two Eyes, be glad there's not 4 people in this story, okay? Two Eyes went out into the woods, and she cried her 2 eyes out for the second time, and the old woman appeared, and she said, "Why are we crying again?" And Two Eyes says, "Well, my sister is going out with me, and I can't get food from the goat, so what am I supposed to do?" And the old woman says, "Well, there's a song that you can sing, and it'll make your sister fall asleep, and the song is this: Is your eye awake? Is your eye asleep? Is your eye awake? Is your eye asleep?" And the old woman disappeared. So One Eye goes out with Two Eyes into the meadow, and Two Eyes says, "I have this song that I want to sing to you." And so she sings, "Is your eye awake? Is your eye asleep? Is your eye awake? Is your eye asleep?" And she watches as One Eye's eyelid slowly starts to droop. And she slowly sinks back against the tree trunk and she falls asleep. So Two Eyes goes to the goat and says her rhyme and eats, and they go home after One Eye wakes up, and Two Eyes went to bed. And so Three Eyes comes to One Eye and she's like, "What have you found out that she's doing out there?" And One Eye says, "It is so boring out there, and I fell asleep. Why don't you go tomorrow and see if you can do a better job than me?" So the next day, Three Eyes goes out with Two Eyes, and Two Eyes tries to sing the song again, and she sings, "Is your eye awake? Is your eye asleep?" And only Three Eyes' middle eyelid fell asleep. But Three Eyes was smarter than her sister, and so she realized that she's using magic here, and so she shut her other 2 eyes, and she watched, and she heard what Two Eyes said to the goat and how she got food. But she pretended to be asleep the whole time. And so they went back home, and Two Eyes goes to bed, and Three Eyes goes to One Eye, and she's like, "I found out what she's doing out there. She's doing horrible things. She's getting food from the goat, and we have to get rid of the goat." And so they drive the goat off into the woods, never to be seen again. So the next morning when Two Eyes wakes up, and she's like, "Where is this goat?" And her sisters are like, "Well, we found out what you were doing out there." And so the goat's gone. So Two Eyes, she goes into the woods and she cries her 2 eyes out again. And the old woman appears and she said, "Are we seriously crying again? We need to call you Red Eyes instead of Two Eyes because this is a problem." And Two Eyes says, "I just had the most awful life. And they got rid of the goat, and I don't have any food, and I don't know what to do." And she said, "Three Eyes came out with me, and I couldn't, she fell asleep, but she found out." And the old woman says, "You silly girl. You should have saying, 'Are your eyes awake? Are your eyes asleep?'" And Two Eyes goes, "Oh, that would make sense." And she said, "Well, in that case, here's a seed." And she gives Two Eyes a seed, and she said, "Plant it outside the cottage, and it is going to grow leaves of silver and apples of gold. And any time that you want an apple from the tree, just say, 'Apple, apple on the tree, I am Two Eyes, come to me.'" And the old woman, for the last time, disappeared. So Two Eyes goes home, and she goes outside the cottage, and she digs a hole, and she plants the seed in there, covers it up, and waters it. and she waits for it to grow. And they go to bed, and the next morning when the three sisters wake up, they look outside the cottage, and there is this great tall tree with leaves of silver and apples of gold. And they go outside, and they're just looking at it like, wow, it's a big tree. And as they're just standing there looking at it, they hear clip, clop, clip, clop. And they look, and this knight is coming down the road toward them. And so they start to panic that someone's coming, and we have to hide Two Eyes. And so they send Two Eyes back behind the bushes and remain out of sight because you're weird. And this knight comes up, and he asks the two sisters, he says, "Fair maidens, this is the most beautiful tree, and I will give anything in my power to the young lady who first gives me an apple from the tree." And so the sisters are all over it, and they're like, "We got you." And they're trying to get an apple from the tree, and they're trying to climb up the trunk, but they keep falling down. And they're trying to jump up and grab an apple, but the branches of the tree just lift themselves above the sisters' reach, and they can't get this knight an apple. And while they're over there trying to solve this problem, Two Eyes is behind the bushes, and she finds a stone, and she kind of tosses it out where the knight can see it. And he noticed, and he asked One Eye and Three Eyes, he said, "Where did this stone come from? Is someone behind there?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's our sister Two Eyes. She's not normal. We have to keep her hidden because she's so ugly. She has two eyes." And so the knight says, "Well, I would very much like to see this person." And so they say, "Two Eyes, come on out." And she comes out from behind the bushes, and the knight thinks she's the most beautiful person he'd ever seen. And she was gorgeous, and he's just staring at her. And he raises his helmet for a better look. And that's when they all realize he has two eyes too. And One Eye and Three Eyes are in shock because they've never seen anybody else with two eyes. And as they're standing there trying to process this whole situation, the knight says to Two Eyes, he says, "I will give you anything in my power for an apple from this tree." And she's like, "I got this." And she looks at the tree and goes, "Apple, apple on the tree, I am Two Eyes, come to me." And down falls an apple into her hand, and she gives it to the knight, and he says, "What can I do? Anything in my power, you can have it." And she's like, "Well, first, you can take me away from these horrid, hateful sisters." And so he does. She gets on his horse, and they ride back to the castle, and they had so much in common because they both had two eyes. And they ended up falling in love and getting married. And you can be sure that they lived happily ever after. And as for the sisters, they spent the rest of their lives standing outside under the tree saying, "Apple, apple on the tree, I am Two Eyes, come to me." And they never did figure out why they couldn't get an apple. The end.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, or is it eyes? Great story. Rebekah Garcia is 16 and a junior at Midlothian Heritage High School. She likes sharks, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and doing theater. She does not like geometry. I'm with you on that one. Rebekah has been telling stories for 7 years and loves connecting with others through stories. She has twice been named National Youth Storyteller, telling her stories on the Timpanogos Festival stages. She honors Tony Simmons and the late Trafine Hickman, who have taught her the beauty and the power of story. Yeah. All right. Ready? Rebekah tells stories that are so sublime, but to make her take geometry is really a crime. Let's welcome to the stage Rebekah Garcia.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Rebekah Garcia, and today I will be telling you a story inspired by The Touch of the Master's Hand by Myra Brooke Wells. There was once a father who loved his son very much, and one day he decided to buy him a violin. The violin was beautiful. It was made with intricate details and nicely polished, and you could tell that it was made with great love and care. And the son was grateful for it. He really, really was. But he didn't take that much care of it, nor did he practice. And when he did, he would always play harshly and leave it lying on the floor. And the dog would scratch it, and the kids would drag it around. And the father finally decided that enough was enough, and he put it into the attic, where it collected dust and never played the symphony that it was meant to. Years passed, and one day there was an auction. It had gone very successful, and there was only one item left, an old violin. The auctioneer didn't really understand the point of trying to sell it. It had so many scratches and was so battered, he didn't think that he could make any money from it. But he picked it up, put a smile on his face, and turned to the crowd. Morning, folks. How are y'all doing? Today we have this lovely little violin here. Who'll give me $1 for this lovely violin? $1. Oh, yes, $1. Who'll give me $2? Come on, it's a nice, lovely violin for only $2. $2. Do I hear $3? And from the back of the room, an old man stood. And slowly he walked to the front of the room to where the auctioneer was. He gently took the violin and wiped off the dust. He tightened the lute strings, and he held it up, and he began to play. And the sweetest music rang out, as pure as and sweet as a caroling angel sings. And each note added on to the beautiful melody, and the room was silent as they all listened to the music. And the old man continued to play, and then he stopped. And he gently put down the violin, and he looked at it with great love, and he walked out the room. The room was silent, and then the auctioneer spoke. With a voice quiet and low, he said, "What am I bid for the old violin?" 1,000. Who will give me 1,000? 2,000, 2,000, 3,000. 3,000 going once, 3,000 going twice, going and gone. And the people cheered, yet some cried, "We do not understand what changed its worth." But quick came the reply, "The touch of the master's hand." And many times in our own life, more often than we would like, a man has his own life out of tune. He is battered and scarred with sin, and he is auctioned off to the thoughtless crowd. A mess of pottage, a glass of wine, a game, and he travels on. He is going once, going twice. He is going and almost gone. But the master comes, and the foolish crowd can never quite understand the worth of a soul and the change that's wrought by the touch of the master's hand. Thank you.
Let's just all breathe that in for a minute. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our concert so far. It's been wonderful, hasn't it? TSA is proud of our youth storytelling program, and we have a new fund to support youth storytelling in our region. It's called the David Brock Memorial Youth Storytelling Fund, and it offers scholarships to remove financial barriers for youth tellers who need to travel to festivals and conferences to tell stories. You can learn more about it, about how to donate and how to apply on the TSA website. We'd like to extend our heartfelt thanks and gratitude to David's parents, Emily and David, who are here today, for their support, for the fund, and for all the other donors who have contributed thus far. And now we're ready for our last teller. Liz Weir is our final teller. She's from Northern Ireland, that beautiful County Antrim. She is she's been teaching us about fairies this weekend. And how does she do that? Through her stories. She used to be a children's librarian, and she's told stories all over the world. And she's always learning things, so I think she's maybe a student of the world. She's been known to do a little rhythm and rhyme herself. She likes German Shepherd dogs. She likes watching movies. And she likes kindness. She does not like bullies. There's often a smile on the face of Liz Weir. But if she sees a bully, it'll make her sneer. Let's welcome to our stage Liz Weir.
Also known as the coughing storyteller this weekend, if you've heard me. So I've got my water here. Weren't they marvelous? Please give them a big hand. Some of you may know that I do a bit of this myself. I get children telling stories, and Alton Chung was overstaying with me, and I brought him out to schools and so on. And I was in a school last week, and they said, "Tell the one you told about the tiger." And I said, "I didn't." And they said, "You did?" I said, "I didn't." "You did." And they told me the whole story. And I said, "No, that was Alton." "No, you told it." I said, "No, I didn't." And that's the thing. The mark of a really good storyteller is the one whose story you remember long after you've forgotten the face of the teller. And I was so pleased to be able to message Alton and said, "They all remembered your story." So I'm going to tell this one for Sue. And we've got younger brothers and sisters here, which is wonderful. Great to have them. Great wee baby at the back too. Anyway, so this is one that was told to me by a 7-year-old. A long time ago, when the world was new, there was a rainbow fairy. She kept rainbows in a box on her kitchen table. Whenever the weather was right for rainbows, she'd open the box and whoosh, the rainbow would go into the sky. Whenever it was time for the rainbow to come back, she had a magic whistle and she'd blow it, and the rainbow would come back in. But the rainbow fairy, a bit like myself, got a cough and sneezing, and so she was sensible. She wasn't at a storytelling festival. She went to bed with a hot lemon drink, and she left her rainbows on the kitchen table. But next door to her, she had a really nosy fairy. Did you know what a nosy person's like? Always peeking out from under the blinds, watching everybody else. And the nosy fairy had wondered something that I'm sure the people at the back have always wondered. What does a rainbow look like when it's not out? Are the colours all jumbled together, like cotton candy? Or are they side by side, like plasticine or Play-Doh, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet? So she sneaked in, went over to the box, out shot the rainbow into the sky. Come back, she said. Do you think it came back? Why not? No whistle. So she ran home and she hid under a kitchen table. But the queen of the fairies, she was sitting up in her castle eating her crunchy nut cornflakes the way you do. And she said, "What is a rainbow doing out in a day like this? It's a blue sky." So she went over and she rapped on the door, and the voice said, "Come in." See, I don't even have to try. "Come in." She said, "Rainbow fairy, come down at once." "I'm sick. I've got a cough." "Come down at once. It's your queen speaking." So she had to climb out of bed, put on her slippers, got her bathrobe, and came down the stairs. The Queen said, "Your rainbow's out." She said, "It's not me. I'm not working today. I'm off in the sick. Get it back." So she had to get the whistle. Rainbow came back. Queen said, "Who did it? Was it you? That one over there? Probably that one down there." I said, "No, not me." And she found the nosy fairy hiding under a table. "Come out. You're always looking at things that aren't your business. I was just looking." That's the point. I'm going to give you a job that'll keep you going for the rest of your life. And it'll suit you. You'll go round the world, and whenever you find a house with a little boy or a little girl sleeping, shh, don't wake them. Sneak in, lift up their pillow, and if you find a tooth there, leave money and bring that tooth back to me. So that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is how the tooth fairy started her job. Now, you have been far, far too quiet. So I need you to help me with this story, no matter what age you are, all right? Now, some of you know I broke both my arms last year, so this arm's sort of limited, so I'm definitely going to need a bit of help with this story. Are you on? Yeah. Now, first of all, I have to ask you a question. We've got different words for things. Does everybody here know what a whinge bag is? It's a child that goes, oh. If there's one thing that gets on my nerves, it's a whinge bag. This particular boy was called Ben. He lived in England, you probably don't know him. And he whinged, and I think you call it whining. Oh, cough. The minute he got his holidays from school, his parents were very smart. Do you know what they did? They sent him to his granny and granddad. So all he had to do was, "What's wrong, darling? What do you want, pet?" Oh, granny, he had her trained. So the first thing she did when he got there was to make his favourite dinner. Now, I'm not going to start to ask you, because you pronounce it differently anyway. We call it stew. You call it stew? What we call it? Stew? Say it. Stew. Anyway, she had the stew all made. She said, "What's wrong, pet? It's your favourite." There's no brown bread. Now, if you ever come to Ireland, our wheaten bread is special. She said, "Oh, I didn't have time to bake." And listen, keep the door locked. Don't open the door to anybody. No matter who comes, don't open the door. Keep the door locked. We'll be back soon. So they locked him in. He was fine once he got his own way. But in the woods near their house, there lived a fox. And her name was Soxy. And what do you think she liked more than anything in the whole world? Not boys, they're too bitter. Stew. She loves stew. So she came and she knocked on the door. "Hello? Who's there?" "It's me, Soxy the fox. Open the door. Let me in." Nanny said I wasn't to open the door. Foxes are clever. Did she mention the window? No. Go on. Open the window. Let me in. If you let me in, I'll take you for a ride on my tail 3 times around the kitchen. Deal? So he opened the window and she came up all the stew on my tail. Round 3 times around the kitchen, out and away, with him going, McGrew. Oh, please stop that noise. I am not going to hurt you. I just need a hand to clean up those cubs of mine. There's chicken bones, feathers everywhere. Granny and Grandad came home. Yoo-hoo, Ben. No Ben. No stew. Just a strong smell of fox and footprints out the window. That fox has got our boy. We have to get him back. Now, here's where you come in. You have to help me now. Grandad went under the stairs and got his bagpipes. Now, how many of you can play bagpipe? You can do it. Hold your noses, please. And you have to thump your chest at the same time. Oh, good. All right. Now, saucepan and spoon. Bang, 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 bang. Great. And there's a rhyme, which you're all going to do. Soxy, Soxy, in your den, bring us back our little Ben. Right. Are we ready? Bagpipes ready? 1, 2, 3. Bang, 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 bang. Soxy, Soxy, in your den. The fox said, "Who is making that noise outside our den? One of you cubs, go up there, find out who's making that noise and tell them to stop it at once, because I've got a headache, a nose ache, a tummy ache, a toes ache, and a very bad tail ache." So the fox went up and said, "Hello, Mummy said, could you please stop making that awful noise at once, because she's got a..." And a very bad tail. Really, said Granny. Shoo! Put the fox in her bag. Let's go again. Bang! Soxy, Soxy, in your... Bring us back our... Where's your brother gone? Get up there. Tell whoever's making that horrible noise to stop it at once, because I've got a nose ache, a tummy ache, a toes ache, and a very bad tail. Oh, my mummy said, could you please stop making that horrible noise at once, because she's got a headache, a nose ache, a tummy ache, a toes ache, and shoo, in the bag. Last time, folks, here we go. Bang, bang, bang. Soxy, Soxy. Do you know something, said the fox. If you want a job doing, you've got to do it your... She said, excuse me, I have no idea who you are. I don't know what you want, but could you please stop making that horrible noise at once, because I've got a... Really? Granny said, guess what I've got in the bag? And the bag was jumping. You've got my cubs, yes, and you've got our grandson. Maybe we could talk. So they talked. Granny and Grandad released the cubs. Ben was released, just a few chicken bones and feathers. But you see, after that, he was the nicest boy. He never whined, he never moaned, he never was horrible. He was really pleasant. And sometimes at night, they would all sit by the fire and they'd do that little round together. Ready? Soxy, Soxy. And that's the tale of a boy called Ben and a fox called Soxy. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.